Unpacking the Russian-Ukrainian War from Policy and People Perspectives. The Russian-Ukrainian War is one of the most significant conflicts of our time, reshaping global geopolitics and causing widespread human and economic ramifications. This video delves into the roots of the conflict, its escalation, international policy responses, and the profound humanitarian crisis it has unleashed. Importantly, it provides a clear and analytical overview for a general audience seeking to understand not just what is happening, but why it matters for the world. To understand the Russian-Ukrainian War, we must examine the historical context and underlying tensions that laid the groundwork for this devastating conflict. Ukraine's relationship with Russia is shaped by centuries of shared history, culture, and geography. Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union until it declared independence in 1991, following the collapse of the USSR. Despite its independence, Ukraine struggled to escape Russia's influence, with Moscow viewing the country as part of its sphere of control. Russia grew increasingly alarmed at Ukraine's lean toward closer ties with the West, including aspirations to join NATO and the European Union. This clash of alignments between Russia's desire to maintain influence over Ukraine and Ukraine's ambitions for greater integration with the West became a major source of tension. The annexation of Crimea in 2014 marked a turning point. Russia seized the peninsula, citing historical claims and the protection of ethnic Russians. This move sparked international condemnation, but also emboldened Russian-backed separatists in eastern Ukraine, leading to years of unrest and sporadic conflict. These tensions boiled over in February 2022, when Russia launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine. This act wasn't just an escalation, it represented a direct challenge to the international rules-based order. Russian leadership justified the invasion on grounds of protecting ethnic Russians, denazifying Ukraine, and opposing NATO's growing influence near its borders. However, these justifications have widely been dismissed as excuses for Russia's larger strategy to assert dominance in the region. The initial stages of the war were marked by swift and brutal Russian advances. Major cities such as Kyiv came under attack, and heavy bombardment devastated communities. However, Ukraine's response surprised many worldwide. The country unified under President Volodymyr Zelensky, whose leadership and resolve inspired both Ukrainians and international allies. Ukraine's military adopted unconventional tactics to repel Russian forces, aiming to turn what many assumed would be a quick victory for Moscow into a protracted conflict. The war prompted swift and unprecedented international policy responses, particularly from Western nations. NATO, although not directly involved in the conflict, emerged as a key player by backing Ukraine with military equipment, intelligence, and logistical support. This assistance played a critical role in aiding Ukraine's defensive strategies. The United States alone approved billions of dollars in aid for Ukraine, underscoring its commitment to the principles of national sovereignty and territorial integrity. European nations also rallied behind Ukraine, though their responses varied due to economic interdependence with Russia. A significant policy shift occurred as nations like Germany moved away from their reliance on Russian energy despite the economic costs. Sanctions on Russia aimed to cripple its economy, targeting industries such as energy, banking, and technology. These economic measures had mixed results. While they hit Russia's economy hard, they also caused ripple effects throughout the global economy. Diplomatically, Western nations have had to balance their actions to avoid direct conflict with Russia, given its nuclear arsenal. This cautious approach reflects the delicate line between supporting Ukraine and avoiding escalations that could spiral into a broader confrontation. One of the central narratives of this war is the resilience of Ukraine and its people. President Zelensky's leadership has been nothing short of transformative, rallying the nation during its darkest hours. His ability to communicate effectively with both domestic and international audiences played a crucial role in securing aid and maintaining support from allied nations. Beyond leadership, the Ukrainian military demonstrated unexpected strength, utilizing strategic regional defense and adaptability to counter Russian advances. Ordinary citizens also mobilized in extraordinary ways. Civilians took up arms, organized volunteer networks, and developed grassroots initiatives to support the resistance effort. This resilience is not limited to the battlefield. Ukrainians around the globe have united to preserve their culture and protest against the aggression. The collective determination of the Ukrainian people has become a defining symbol of their fight for sovereignty and independence. Amid the geopolitical maneuvering and strategic calculations, the war's human toll cannot be overlooked. The invasion has displaced millions, creating one of the largest refugee crises in modern history. Families have been torn apart, with women and children fleeing to neighboring countries, while men often remain to defend their communities. Infrastructure destruction has left cities in ruins, with essential services cut off for millions. The resulting humanitarian crisis has posed enormous challenges for aid organizations that struggle to meet the scale and urgency of need. Globally, the effects of the crisis are equally profound. Ukraine has long been a major exporter of grain, and the war severely disrupted its agricultural exports, exacerbating food insecurity in regions dependent on Ukrainian produce. Simultaneously, the energy crisis triggered by Western sanctions on Russian oil and gas has led to soaring prices and supply shortages in Europe and beyond. The war has far-reaching implications for the broader geopolitical landscape. It has reignited East-West tensions, reminiscent of the Cold War. NATO has reasserted its relevance, bolstering defenses along its eastern flank and expanding its influence. The conflict has also provided China with an opportunity to redefine its relationship with both Russia and the West. Beijing's stance of nominal neutrality, while quietly supporting Moscow in trade and diplomacy, reflects a strategic calculation to leverage the situation to its advantage. Countries in the global south and neutral states have also been forced to re-evaluate their alliances. For them, the war serves as a cautionary tale of how interconnected the modern world has become, with conflicts in one region rippling far beyond its borders. The war is not just fought on the battlefield, but also in the realm of information and narratives. Russia has employed propaganda to frame the conflict as a defense of its security and values against Western expansionism. Within Russia, the state suppresses dissent and controls the messaging to maintain public support for the war. In contrast, Ukraine has skillfully harnessed both traditional and digital media to inform the world of its plight. Videos of bombed cities, personal stories from refugees, and appeals from Zelensky have leveraged global sympathy and support. Public opinion in other parts of the world has swayed governments to take stronger stances or shift policies, illustrating how critical narratives are in modern warfare. As we analyze the Russian-Ukrainian war, we must remember it is not just a story about geopolitics or military strategy. It is also a story of human suffering and resilience. Millions of Ukrainians are fighting for their sovereignty, their homes, and their families. Millions more across the world are impacted by rising food prices, energy shortages, and the pervasive uncertainty the war has caused. This conflict also serves as a sobering reminder of the complex relationship between policy and people. Decisions made in capitals like Moscow, Kyiv, Washington, or Brussels have ripple effects not just on the battlefield, but in homes, communities, and economies worldwide. In conclusion, this war represents a defining moment for the 21st century. It challenges the international community's ability to uphold shared values of sovereignty and independence in the face of aggression. It underscores the importance of resilience, both at the national and individual levels. As we navigate these uncertain times, understanding the roots and implications of such conflicts becomes not just valuable, but essential. It allows us, as a global audience, to remain informed, empathetic, and aware of the stakes, not just for nations, but for humanity as a whole.